Thank you, Luke. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and I'd like to second that from our good friend Luke here. It is a wondrous time to be in the Hammer. The fantastic city of Hamilton has a long and rich history of supporting the cartoon arts, and we're really happy to be here. My name is Editorial. I'm the president of the Association of Canadian Cartoonists, and our association is an important one because we have been in the many-decade level of service to Canadians who love their satire by supporting, endorsing, promoting, and encouraging folks to experience the wonderful arts of your Canadian political and editorial cartoonists. Today, I was kindly asked by our good friend and host of this city, the Hamilton Spectator's own Graham Mackay, to join with my big mouth to talk about the state of affairs that we find ourselves in today. But I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our organizer Margaret for getting everything underway here, because she has a great level of enthusiasm for the cartoon arts as well. I'm going to start by just introducing the cartoonists that are here, and they're all prominent Canadian cartoonists. We're going to show a little bit of the work that you may or may not be familiar with, and then we're just going to have a discussion, and when we conclude, we'll throw it to the floor. If anyone has any questions, we can go from there. I'm going to meander over here to sit beside my good friend Theo Moudakis. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Theo Moudakis, and if you don't know Theo, many of you would. He is the longtime cartoonist and superstar for the Toronto Star. This gentleman enjoys a level of fame based entirely upon his talent, but also the fact that he has a big voice. He's got an enormous voice because he's the main cartoonist for many years at the Toronto Star, so his work is seen across the country, and I think everybody should welcome Theo with a hand of applause. As mentioned already, the host, if we're eating donuts, we're calling him the host to the city, because if anyone wanders into the Hammer for any reason whatsoever, Graham is so thoughtful, he'll stop his day, he'll come and see if you're okay, he'll make sure the crullers are to your satisfaction, and then he'll talk to you about cartooning. The Hamilton Spectator's own Graham Mackay. And wow, what can you say about the next cartooning legend that we have with us today? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the longest published Canadian editorial cartoonist in history. He continues to this day to draw for the Toronto Sun, and many of you know Andy for his particular brand of magic comedy and risque takes on today's news. The Toronto Sun's 109-year-old Andy Donato. 110, but not to be outdone, and fellow colleague, and clearly one of the most important people in our community because of her charm, because of her immense wit and comforting words for all of us when we're losing our jobs. She's the only long-term regularly published female editorial cartoonist in Canadian history. It is quite remarkable that is the case, but certainly a lot of it has to do more with her ability than anything else. She is one of the funniest people that Canada's ever been blessed to have on the public stage. It's the beautiful and talented Toronto Sun's own Sue Dewar. Wow. So a lot of talent to deal with. We threw together a few slides just to familiarize yourself with our gang. And the last time we got together as a crew, the Association of Canadian Cartoonists, was a few months back in Montreal. As you can see this sign here of wacky Quebecers up to no good with their Bombardier machine. And it was at this very building here. That's the McCord Museum in Montreal, right out front McGill University. If you've never been, we suggest you visit, because it's the museum that houses all of Montreal culture, specifically as it pertains to costume, artifacts, and printed material. Thus, Christian Vachon, who sits on our board, is a wonderful fellow. He's the main curator there. He collects and assembles principally all of Quebec's political cartoons throughout history, but has collected many of the cartoonists that are with us tonight, all of their work, and a lot of the folks were on display there. There's Christian on the top left. He did a presentation on Uncle Sam, which is very good. Ham Sandwich right below, that's our good friend Graham. But we had a lot of Americans joining us, and I think a few of you folks out there would know some of these folks. Barry Blitt from the New Yorker is enormously popular, as is Steve Brodner, Lalo Alcaraz. He's got his work cut out for him today, certainly with what's happening in the United States. But brilliant and lovely people. And here's a collection of the gang there at the McCord Museum. And I can't say enough about this place, and the fact that they are the one institution in Canada that really aggressively pushes the collection of editorial cartoon publication and conservation. Wonderful folks. But we're very lucky here because, as I've mentioned before, the host of this event, our good friend Graham, he's done so many delightful cartoons, and I think it was part of the mandate today from Margaret and company. Like, we need to talk about the importance of what's happening in the world, and the insanity of Donald Trump and company. Nobody's documented it better than Graham through the years, and this cartoon nails it because there have been periods in the last several years of drawing where, Graham, you just you're seeing it everywhere. You're seeing it on the cat, you're seeing it on the cereal boxes, you're seeing Trump everywhere you look. I'm just going to kind of send you down a little bit of memory lane with some of Graham's takes on the United States and President Trump, and going to tell a lie, the Trump news buffet. And oh yeah, isn't that? You can smell it from where you're sitting, can't you? So
these are all very old.
Yes, there's a few oldies but goodies, but we had to include some. Yes, first term Trump cartoons, and there's the Talking Trump 47 doll, Security Expo. Feel free to chime in at any moment, Graham, if you want to give us some updates. And here's a new tariff cartoon. Moving along, we have our delightful friend Susan Dewar from and her particular take on Donald Trump. She has a very charming, elegant line, and Lord knows the COVID experience gave everybody room for a lot of drama. Yes, cutting off his nose. This is great. This Chomp Beaver. It's very good. I love the display of North America as a kind of a piece of plywood. It's very good. And Susan Dewar, knocking it out. Well, moving along to her compatriot at the Sun Media Group is Andy Donato's take on the Easter Bunny, and Mr. Trump with a little bit of auto chaos going on there. And yeah, I think that would be pretty accurate. That looks like a lot of the cabinet positions have been filled by that fellow. And Andy got himself into a world of trouble years ago during the Iranian Revolution, when he did a cartoon of this very nature with United States soldiers sending the American flag up the backside of the Ayatollah Khomeini, and that was an infamous piece of Canadian cartooning, and he's revamped it here in a very tasty fashion, I think. That's a very, yeah, wow, words don't need to be said. Moving along to our good friend Theo Moudakis from the Toronto Star. Dio's capable of doing very, very theatrical drawings and very punchy graphics that you could feel the weight of that. Imagine that coming down on your head, be quite dramatic. And oh, there we have it. Very nice, very hoodlum president. Oh, yes. Trade war, nobody likes it. This is a fabulous piece for the new Prime Minister. Again with the new Prime Minister. Tasty crayons. Yeah, the bald spot is very, very, it happens to the best of us. Lastly, I've included a few of my own here. This was a cartoon, was done by a colleague of ours, Ann Telnis in the United States, from the Washington Post, drew a cartoon of this very nature of all of the tech oligarchs in the United States all making their offerings to Trump. And as a result, the powers that be at the Washington Post said to her, we're not going to run this. And she had never been put in that position before. And she said, adios, and walked away from a very prestigious position at the Post. And in solidarity, our colleague Steve Brodner asked all the cartoonists if they would do their own take on Anne's cartoon of everybody making their golden offerings to the president. This was mine. This is an old cartoon back from when Trump, the other week when Elon Musk and Trump were throwing their little barbs at one another, and I just thought, I can't take it anymore, and went to make, what would it be like if they had their own state park, and they were up there, Mount Rushmore-like, throwing their nastiness around at Mount Asshole State Park. That's correct. It's no one would publish this. It's use profanity, which we try to stay away from. But there we have it. There is a little taste of what our colleagues do here, and as you can see from this this collage, there are so many talented cartoonists in Canada, in the United States, Europe, Africa, Asia, all around the world. There's people talking in a way they rarely ever have, because often the behavior of world leaders we're much more prone to see this kind of behavior in smaller countries, but not from the leader of one of the world's biggest powers, if not the biggest power. It's an unprecedented opportunity for cartooning, and a lot of people though would regularly say, oh, isn't it great, isn't it great? That's all you get to do is draw Trump. And I think after the first term, most of our colleagues would say no, they're kind of really tired of drawing Trump on a day-to-day basis, and please, somebody else come along. But here we are, we're back at it again, and everyone seems to be drawing Trump on a daily basis, but showing from the top to the bottom of that collage the importance of displaying the true and manic behavior of a very unpredictable individual. And Graham, I'm gonna start by asking you, like, when you're always been a person that loves to feel strongly about local cartooning and the importance of local cartooning, but don't you feel like you're in a scenario where it's like a tidal wave that you have to draw Trump, even though there are stories closer to home? You put yourself out that you have to draw him?
My priority is Canada first, not to borrow Mr. Davies. But like what you said, he is a distraction, and I've always said, oh, you gotta like keep your eye on what's going on locally, especially what's going on in your own city. And I used to do a lot of that, but now I also draw for various newspapers around Southern Ontario, so you don't get the Andrew Horvath cartoons or the minutia of City Hall and stuff like that, unfortunately, because I used to enjoy that. But I think it's we're now a major part of the Trump administration, the second term. He seems to talk about us like every other day, it seems, with the 51st state rhetoric. So, I would love to do more local stuff, but Trump as much as we think he's a distraction, I always hear people say, "Oh, you're putting too much attention on him." Well, you can't ignore him. He's at a point where if you ignore him, then you're really, he's the elephant in the room. And he's the elephant in the room like all week this past week. I did 5 cartoons, and I'd say 4 of them had some kind of reference to Trump, because if you didn't talk about him, what are you going to talk about? You're going to talk about interprovincial trade barriers? That's boring. No one cares about that. They want to hear what's going on in the news. And unfortunately, he is the guy. He's the master of distraction, and we have to follow him.
Well, looking over at the end of our table here of wonderful people, I'm going to ask Sue. You and Andy are in a unique position because you are published in a paper that has, a decidedly right of center viewpoint. And Sue, are you faced by episodes where you get 2 stories pop up in front of you, and the editorial board would say, "We really want you to do something that's favorable to Trump," and what do you do when you're in that kind of position?
Well, if I turn this on right, I've been in that position since I started cartooning, which is 38 years ago, something like that. Because I'm left of center and the Sun is right of center. So I've had to fight for every cartoon I've put in. But in the beginning, they used to like to get the readers going. So they used to love it when I did a cartoon that was opposite of the editorial. They thought that was funny. They'd all phone in and scream and yell, and they'd say, "Yay, look, people are reading the paper." So it seemed to work then. Then when Trump came in, this time in particular, they were a bit squeamish about us drawing it. Andy and I, sorry.
Can you talk, put it closer to your, there we go.
When Trump got in this time, Andy and I they were a bit squeamish at first.
You gotta be like a rock star and hold it right up here and mouse you.
Yeah, so now, no. Now they're they're not as squeamish, or at least they've given up. But the thing is that we work for Post Media, and Post Media is owned by an American hedge fund. So most of the papers in this country are owned by Post Media now. So I'm not sure how this is going to play out, to be honest with you.
Now, Andy, when you're in the same situation, say let's imagine that 2 giant world events fall on your desk on the day that you have to do your drawing, and one of them is a Trump story. They know you're the guy. It's Andy. Andy loves. He can take it to the best of them. But are they ever going to lean on you and say, "Don't go too hard on them," or do they you have carte blanche because of your reputation?
Well, about 2 years ago, the editor came into my office and said, "No more Trump cartoons." And I couldn't believe she said that.
And why did she say that?
Oh, I was being too tough on Trump, and they were actually supporting him. They'd only run stories in the paper that were favorable to Trump. They wouldn't run the really good stuff. So I said, "Well, that's okay, I'll draw them." And she said, "Well, we're not going to print them." And I said, "That's okay, as long as you pay for them." And she says, "We're not going to pay." I said, "Well, it's my contract."
That's it.
Anyway, he's just he's easy to draw. I mean, look, Carney has got a face like a bowl of porridge. There's not much there to draw. But Graham's right. He's the most important thing in the world right now. He's changed everything. Look at this mess we're in with trade or tariffs. And it's but I just go after him because I only draw once a week.
Yeah.
So it's tough picking a topic to draw on, and he's usually the topic.
Have they killed any of your Trump cartoons ever? Just said no.
Not lately. No,
Okay.
No. I think they've given up on that.
Yeah. Now, if we can move over to Theo. Theo, how is it at the Star? Are they quite excited when you're doing your Trump renditions?
I don't know.
Do you get that kind of feedback anymore?
I get zero feedback.
Zero feedback.
I haven't spoken to my editor in like Well, he was hired a year ago. I haven't spoken to him in a year. So I guess I'm probably the luckiest cartoonist in Canada.
Well, I think you guys have the benefit of being veteran cartoonists, so they're able to
I
say.
think we have the benefit of everybody being so overworked at the Star that they don't even want to, like, don't even bother me with what you're doing. Just send me the cartoon, and as long as it doesn't cross the line. But if I get deign to be a contrarian on this topic of Trump, I find him boring. I mean,
Okay.
we're so Trumped out, right? Every single day. And we've drawn so many Trump cartoons. I only draw him when there's nothing else going on. So then when I do draw him, it's like, oh, it's so topical. Oh, way to go, Dad. But it's like, oh, like I squeezed that out, right? Because I didn't feel like drawing.
I think you and Graham are in the same boat in that department.
Graham
Yeah.
draws Trump every
But I'm very cognizant of that
No,
because
no.
I wanted to draw Doug Ford this week. I'm sure you go through the same thing where you tick off a list. Okay, I did Carney, last 2 days ago. I can't do him. But Doug Ford, is he as boring as
No, I love Doug Ford. But I've had one waiting. I haven't drawn Doug Ford in a couple and it's a good one. And it's like waiting in my sketchbook. You know?
I have that too. I have a young Doug Ford cartoon waiting, and I was going to do it this week on Bill, whatever the.
But then, the G7 and...
It's a communist paper.
Well, I mean... It used to be. Not anymore.
Yeah, that's something I'm curious about. And if we could do an informal poll here from all of you readers out there, if you were to look in the paper tomorrow, would you prefer to see oh my God, it's another Trump cartoon, or something on local issues? Who would prefer the local issue thing? Raise your hand. Wow, isn't that interesting?
Well, hang on, let's not go crazy.
Okay, oh wow. They don't like your Trump cartoons.
We don't want to be hyper local because that's boring too. Like I don't want to draw the Toronto mayor, or I don't like bicycle lane cartoons.
Yeah, and like when you only have 34% come out and vote in local elections, who cares really?
Who cares? Yeah.
But we prefer to draw. I love drawing Carney. I love drawing Pontiac.
Olivia Chow. Right, Andy?
Oh yeah.
Now, there's a cartoon that I get killed constantly.
They're still after you for that cartoon?
Yeah,
Because you put her in a little mouth cap and like a little...
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, she was a mouse suit.
Yeah.
I did her as a bicycle stand, and they killed it because, I had her legs too far apart. Stupid thing. And I had her eating something with chopsticks. Can't run that.
You can't draw chopsticks anymore.
That's right.
You can't.
I know.
You can't do egg roll
I mean,
jokes
that's all
anymore.
bullshit.
Oh.
Now, it's interesting, all these people that want to see local cartoons, I agree, local cartoons are great, and we should be doing more of them. That's why I draw Trump. Can you tell me something that he hasn't affected your life somehow? He does everybody. Just take tariffs alone, you're paying more for food.
Well,
we also, under COVID, we stopped, like, I point this out to my family, is that no other president has affected my or your life more than Donald Trump. The first incarnation was we couldn't cross the border into the US for how many months? Because his federal laws were just impossible to take for our healthcare system up here. We had to be prevented from going to the US, and now we got these tariffs. We're in the city of Hamilton here. If you've heard the news, it's 50% tariffs. We're about to be crushed in this city.
Yeah.
And that's because of one man's crazy decisions.
Yeah.
Out of the four of you, has anyone been in the position where crossing the border has been an issue? Graham is married to a lovely American lady, and having to go across the border. Have you seen this? Has anybody been stopped and interrogated yet?
My daughter, who's 22, was there, or 23. She was there last week and had no problem. Jaylene Grove, yes, Jaylene.
Jaylene is here.
She's a professor in Rhode Island, and she was saying she had no problem, but I don't know about these folks here. Any trips to the U.S., Andy?
Well, the best story I heard, was a couple driving back from Florida, going through Georgia, went to get gas and they wouldn't serve them. So they had to go to another gas station.
Because of their license.
Well, because, you know, I heard of a couple of guys going to a football game or a baseball game, and he got to the border and a customs guy said, "What do you think of our president?" And one guy said, "Glad he's yours and not ours." Wouldn't let him in, wouldn't cut him off. Now how, that could be urban legend, I don't know.
Well, the urban legend thing is evident, but there was a British cartoonist, a young lady who infamously was nabbed and put in detention for a number of weeks. And we know of a couple of their cartoonists who were asked their assessment of the United States government and their political opinions and taken into the back room. So who knows whether this is going to continue at this rate, get worse, get better. We don't know, but one thing for certain, as we showed you from the photographs earlier, getting together with our colleagues is a vital part of keeping our industry alive, or at the very least being able to drink with your buddies, and that's always an important component. But we regularly would be off, Graham and I, and Andy and Sue joined us. Theo, we're still hoping will join us one day when we jet off to California or one of these other places. But nobody wants to go now. Everybody's afraid that they're going to go to the States and get incarcerated. And that may be a bit of a bit of hyperbole there, but you don't know, because these people, most of us, are not just Joe average citizens, or people who are drawing disparaging cartoons about politicians. And the type of stuff that can get you in a lot of trouble. Your editors, have any of you ever had issues, whether it's with the Trump world or other worlds, akin to what has happened to our friend Ann Telmus, where the editor says no? I know you had your Olivia Chattel moment, Andy, but do you fellas, have you had moments that were very, very problematic for you in your career?
Are you talking to me?
I'm talking to all of you.
Oh, okay.
Jump in.
You go ahead. Well, do you mean, did we decide to like quit over a cartoon that they would?
Where you came to Loggerheads and it was like, oh no, I'm.
Can I be a little contrarian about this whole thing? This whole Ann Telmus thing, maybe not everybody knows, but well, you did mention it
Yes.
briefly, right? So she cartooned the owner of her newspaper.
Indeed, she did.
And then when they said we're not running it, she quit.
Yeah.
What kind of a crazy world are we living in that not only like is this thing, does somebody do that, quit, but is celebrated and is regarded as a hero? I mean, I couldn't imagine.
Well, I understand.
I got something.
Well, but hold on a second. But when your owner is somebody who essentially picks up your paper in a bit of an act of folly, somebody who's bigger than big, an oligarch at the top of the mountain of wealthy people, as in a bit of whimsy, by the Washington Post, should they not be subjected to criticism?
I think there's a certain bit of reality we have to abide by,
Mm-hmm.
which is like the guy who pays your paycheck. I mean, it's a business, right?
Yeah, no, I understand that.
So we're also talking about the Washington Post, which has been under a lot of criticism anyway for being a little too of a suck up to Donald Trump. So
Right. And she's
I
not-
think she was probably playing a little bit with that sort of thing, and I think they might have overreacted a little bit by. Did she quit though? Did
She quit.
She quit.
So,
there might have been a
bless
little
her
bit.
heart for trying, but to quit.
Oh, I gave her, I sent her an email and said, well, I can't really say what I said, but I told her that if she was, I can tell you, I said, if you were a male, you'd have balls as big as church bells. That's a tough thing to do, to quit your job, making that kind of money, and over a cartoon and just to quit.
Yeah, especially.
I don't think I'd ever do it. I'd sit down and draw another cartoon.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Ann,
I
though,
might, I just might, I don't know.
she's in a bit of a different position, Andy. One is because she's an immensely popular cartoonist in the United States. She's
Yeah.
a multiple Pulitzer-winning artist. And she was in a position, I think, to say, you know what, I think financially I'm going to be okay with this move, which I know might be a decision maker for a lot of cartoonists. And she also did what a lot of our team are doing now, which are finding alternative methods of selling and promoting their work through Substack and what have you, like our good friend Graham here, which is an important, hugely important monetary resource for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
And Graham, can you tell us actually a little bit about like what it means to use the Substack experience?
Not to bore everyone, but it's sort of it's a foundation for what my life may be like if I'm sadly dropped or the newspaper folds, because we're in that realm now. I don't think the folks I'm sharing the stage will have to worry about that, but we did go through something like that a year and a half ago, or a year ago actually, when a whole bunch of weeklies from the mother corporation that runs the Hamilton Spectator were made bankrupt and are no longer with us in the paper version. So I'm afraid someday that's going to happen in the Spectator. So what Substack offers me is just some hope that I can continue on in the digital realm with subscribers. I have a Substack right now that is 100% free, but I know many of our colleagues who have sadly lost their jobs are now on Substack, and they're actually pulling in, I'd say almost 100% of their income is now replacing whatever was lost when their newspaper folded. So it, as I say, it's a foundation for hope, I guess, but who knows?
Does anyone out here have subscriptions on Substack or some alternate source? Anybody at all? There's a few of you out there. Holy cow, take a deep dive, because some of your favorite illustrators, cartoonists, and writers are sharing their work in ways that they never had the opportunity before. When they had, had to answer to editors, they're able to dive into their own thing. I really, really encourage everybody to take a look and make that dive. You know what? I really think it's prudent. We don't get the opportunity to have these caliber of veterans together in the Hammer that often. I think we would love it if people could put up their hands and let us know if you have any questions for them, because the moment is now. Thanks, Mike. Hi there.
I got a question for Andy over there. I was a big fan of your work from when I was very young and saw you doing original Trudeau cartoons from Pierre Trudeau. Was it weird for you when his son also went into politics and became Prime Minister? Did that strike any weird feelings with you?
I couldn't quite make out what he said.
No.
I'm sorry, I'm bad of hearing.
Oh, look at closer.
Yeah. I heard part of it, but not all of it.
So, I know you worked on cartoons back when Pierre Trudeau was the Prime Minister.
Oh, yeah.
Did it bring up any unusual feelings for you when his son suddenly became Prime Minister and suddenly you were seeing like the future version of him?
It was interesting. And I remember seeing Justin at the Liberal Leadership Convention in Montreal. He had introduced Kennedy, who's an Ontario MP, running for the leadership of the party. And he got up and made a speech, and I said to my editor, he's going to be Prime Minister one day. Because, he's an actor. I mean, he teaches acting. And the only thing the saying was that he had his mother's looks, but he didn't have his dad's brain. I mean, he wasn't like his dad in that regard. And the only thing I gave him is his ascot and his rose, because people don't forget this. Pierre Trudeau, nobody knew him a year before he became Prime Minister. He walked into the House of Commons one day with an ascot, yellow with polka dots, and sandals. And John Diefenbaker got up and criticized him so badly that he made the front page of every newspaper, and a year later he was Prime Minister. Figure that one out.
That is remarkable. I'm going to ask this of all four of you. Did you prefer drawing Pierre or Justin? Start with Sue.
Well, we like sort of lumpy, funny-looking people to draw. Justin was quite handsome, so he wasn't fun at all.
So that's a vote for Pierre. What about you, Andy?
No, Pierre was great. As a matter of fact, Pierre, the first time I drew him, you try to exaggerate his face, and it doesn't look like him. So we had to wait till Duncan McPherson drew him, and then we just copied him.
Theo, what would you say?
Well,
'cause you're quite famous for your Justin cartoons.
But not my Pierre, because I'm a little
You're a
young.
little bit too young.
I'm a little too young for
Yeah,
Pierre.
but you must have drawn at least a couple of Pierres in your
Never.
day. Never when you were a
Way
youngster?
before my time. But I love drawing Justin. I mean, at first, right? Like, what do you do with this handsome guy? But he's so scrawny and kind of ridiculously handsome that I adore it.
He's great fun to draw.
I love it,
Yeah.
and I miss him to bits.
Yeah, great hair.
Great hair,
Great hair.
skinny little gay skinny man, you know, with a little red tie.
Yeah, good looking fellow.
I miss him so much.
Oh yeah. What about Graham? What would you say? Because Graham's been drawing since the age of 2. He's been drawing
Yes.
political figures, and I'm not exaggerating. He has the greatest scrapbooks. And Wendy, poor Wendy, has had to put up with Graham's scrapbooks forever. But it's true. The most magnificent collection of cartoons from when he's this age to his age now, 38.
I do have some drawings of Pierre Trudeau from when I was like a 10-year-old, but they're pretty bad. But I think what would be interesting is that we have a new prime minister right now, and I love what Theo does with the bald spot, and I copied him this past week. I did a bald spot one. I did. This is a confessional. But I'm looking at you, and you have the same bald spot that I have, that Carney has. So we're kind of in a club. But
I got one too.
Andy doesn't have one, but he's 110.
how do you do it, Andy?
He golfs.
Well, look at you.
We golf. Andy and I are golfers. If you golf, you don't go bald, right, Andy?
He gets that from wearing a yarmulke.
Oh well, yeah.
That's a Donato joke right there.
That's a classic Donato joke. Moving along.
Could I just add something?
Please.
But to add on to this, I think it would be interesting actually to amass a collection of our first Justin Trudeau's or our first Pierre Poilievre, let's say, or any long-term politician, Putin, and see how we first draw them and what kind of a caricature they became towards the end. Because I'm noticing, if you look back at your old Trudeau, as nothing compared to your last Trudeau.
Right, I think eventually you find like this template. You do, yeah, right. And you nail them. It's like, I'm going to draw them like that every single time. You pretty much trace it.
Got it.
And they become a Hanna-Barbera character.
Exactly. Our little Tracy.
Sue?
I'm sorry.
I think the best example of that was Tom Tolles, who
Yes.
drew Ronald Reagan, and he always drew it like a pointy haircut like this, and the eyes like this, and the nose and everything. After a while, he didn't bother with the whole face. He just put pointy hair and 2 eyebrows, and that was it.
Yeah.
And you knew who it was.
Well, simplifying the image is good, not just for the cartoonist, for the ease of getting your cartoon done, but also that people get accustomed to it, and cartoon fans like yourselves would, look forward to seeing, when you're picking up your Spectator, like, ooh, it's Graham doing his young Doug Ford or something, and he nails a certain look that you want to see that again and again. And if it changes, it might be an unattractive thing. I'll ask you all 4 of you this is important. Just the other day when I drew that sad cartoon of Trump on the mountain with Elon Musk, I've drawn a lot of Trump now, so he's easy to draw. But I'd never drawn Elon Musk, he's not the easiest fella, and I think if you draw him a lot, you'll get used to it and you'll figure out a system. What out of all of you, if you can tell me some popular figure that you've drawn through the years that you've had trouble with and you're never quite happy with your result? And I'll start with you, Sue.
Oh, I think John Turner was difficult.
Okay.
He was a fairly elegant-looking man, and he was easy to draw, but he was not easy to make funny. He wasn't easy, and he didn't have He didn't do something ridiculous, so you couldn't draw on that. He didn't say something ridiculous. He didn't do anything ridiculously because he was only in for.
Hold on a second. John Turner?
I don't believe in polls. The real poll comes election day.
John Turner. Who has a John Turner invitation in their back pocket? Graham's always got a John Turner ready to go.
Very old too.
Andy, who have you had that you just that stymied you?
I've never drawn Pierre Polyev at all.
Because you're not allowed.
No, he hasn't done anything.
Oh, come on.
Well, Trump got in the way anyway. But I did a caricature of him. One day I was looking at him, I thought, I know how I'll do it. I did a caricature, stuck it on the filing cabinet by my artboard. That if I ever had to draw him, it was easy to draw. I drew, he looks like Alfred E. Newman, but he's cross-eyed. Anyway, I'm trying to think, I know I've had definitely trouble. I thought Turner. Joe Clark was a breeze to draw. I had trouble with Bill Clinton.
Okay.
Originally. And, George W. Bush, the first Bush, the father. I had trouble getting him to look right as
He
well.
had no lips.
Oh, HW.
That's why I said read my lips.
No lips.
What about you, Theo? Was anybody? Yeah, I know you're good at drawing everybody, but there's bound to be somebody
These
in there.
characters were way before my
Well, I
time.
know. Yeah.
But,
From 1995 up.
I can't really think of anybody I've had trouble with. I had trouble with Carney, like the first day. The first couple of days, like I was putting a lot of effort, which I'm such a lazy, we've become lazy, right? Cutting corners and like doing shortcuts, but I was working hard with Carney for those first few days. And I found myself like, I never worked this hard, but I nailed him eventually. So I think, persistence pays off, and now I've got my template.
You've got your template.
Yeah.
Well, he's got that great.
The thing,
Great.
if I could talk about Carney, it's his eyes are, like, there's something about his eyes that are, those are the main characteristic of his face, I would say. Right?
And really long forehead.
Yes, he's got
Like
a
his
long
forehead is forever.
but his eyes are really dark.
Yeah, they've got like the dark eyebrows.
And his eyebrows kind of like go in.
He's got a huge head.
Yeah.
I got to ask a question of my good friend George here. George, what would you like to know?
I would like to know how many of you went to art school, and I'd also like to know, have you ever been told by an editor, draw me a cartoon about story X, or how did that compare, how many cartoons came from your own volition?
Graham?
I
Okay, go ahead.
studied art at Danforth Tech, but became a graphic artist. I just happened to decide that you got, drawing one picture a day had to be easy. So I drew my first cartoon in 1964 on the flag debate in Ottawa. And I thought, wow, Time magazine reprinted it. And I thought, wow, this is a great job. Of course, I couldn't get it. I was the fill-in cartoonist. But I've never been told not to touch a subject. The first cartoon I ever had killed, do you remember Idi Amin? I made his lips too big, they killed it. That was that. And then after they found the head in his refrigerator, I could draw him any way I wanted to.
Sue, where did you go to school?
No, I was a teacher. I taught kindergarten, grade 1.
So you didn't do any
That was
art
a pretty
training?
good start for cartooning.
He was wondering about your art school
No,
training. So there's no
didn't.
art school. Did you take art classes anywhere, or you just started cartooning out of the
I
blue?
am now, but
Yeah.
I didn't then.
I hired her.
Oh, yeah. You have a history of hiring bright people. That's. What about Theo? Theo, your schooling?
I quit art school after like 6 months, so I tried and I tried and I quit and I tried. There was when I went to my art school in Montreal, there was a local cartoonist, because I was big into cartoons, and a local editorial cartoonist who wasn't Aislinn, right? But he was working like the B newspapers. So,
Okay.
So he was like famous to me, and he was one of my teachers, and I was thrilled. He was like a rock star. And the first thing I did, I went and showed him my cartoons. All right. I wanted to do. It's like, well, what do you think? I'm not going to mention any names, of course. And he says, sorry, Theo, you just don't have it. I'm telling you this now to prepare you that you should find, other kind of work.
Dastardly.
He crushed me.
How that's no, you know you're going to be the moo that you are today. This is not.
And then he sent me this, I don't know, he tried to make amends like years later at the Star. So it was a weird thing. So the second part of that is that I worked at the Star for, 20 years. And those first few years were very draw this, don't draw that. There was a lot of that at the Star. Yeah, those first couple of years.
Yeah, and now we don't face that anymore.
And new management, and they let me do whatever I want.
Thank goodness.
I almost lost my job at the Star. Like those first 6 months, they almost didn't hire me after my probation time.
That would have been an enormous mistake.
Because it's like this guy's not getting it, right? Because I was trying to draw my own stuff, and I kept getting into trouble. I remember the publisher. I did this cartoon, and my editor, she was great. She wanted us to express ourselves, but the publisher was like this Mr. Burns character, right? Like everybody was afraid of him. And that morning, he 9 a.m., he walks into our department with his coat on and his briefcase, stomping in right for my editor's office, slams the door, and all you hear is yelling at her, right? Over the cartoon. And then for the rest of the day, her door was closed, and she was crying.
No, that's no. And we don't like.
Those
we
were
don't.
the old days.
We don't like that. Quickly, Graham. What about your to answer George's question?
Well, I just to add on to that. I mean, I haven't made an editor cry or anything, but I have actually. I had sort of an Antelnus situation, which I did defy my. I think he was a publisher at the time, when he would sit in the editorial board meetings, and we were talking about some scandal that was plaguing, I won't mention his name, but he was a chancellor or president of McMaster University here, and I actually drew a cartoon that was mocking him, and the publisher actually came to me and said, no, this is not going to be published, and how dare you do that? And I got raked over the coals at the time. But, we're cartoons, we're editorial cartoons. There was a time when we were supposed to be subversive, and that's what the agreement was. But to Moo's earlier point, they've hired you, they're the boss, and they decide what's going to go in the paper or not. And if you want to quit, that's fine, and that's what Antelnus did, and she got a lot of fame for doing that. I would never do that. And when I did that cartoon of the Chancellor of McMaster, I happily drew something else that day. And that's the one thing you don't want to do, is you don't want to be in the position where you're going to maybe have to draw another cartoon to replace another one that was spiked. So.
The best is when they call you at 6 o'clock in the evening and say, we're not running it. It's like, oh, wow, nothing I could do. You me.
Yeah.
There's nothing you could do. You, the hillside fellow.
Gareth Lind.
How that's affected. You just mentioned that your job was to be subversive, and it strikes me now that it's more dangerous to be subversive because editors don't want blowback, whereas in the old days they would welcome that. That's been touched on before. So is it trickier now? I used to do a lot of cartoons, I don't anymore, and in a way it's more fraught and dangerous, it feels like, to do cartoons now, because editors don't want you to piss off people.
Well, and especially if people are putting stuff on Substack and you don't have that layer of protection that comes from working at a newspaper, you have to get your cartoons lawyered, and that often would happen. And when Theo was talking about getting something that was killed at 6 o'clock, it was probably lawyered, and the advice given to him is, no, don't publish this thing because we're going to get our asses sued. And these poor independents, like Michael Deatter is one, I fear something like this is going to happen when he puts something that's defamatory or something. But the other thing is, we've been through this for so many decades that we know what's going to make it through. We're kind of experts in the legal department at this point, that we know what's acceptable and what's not. And the subversive stuff, well, you can share it with your friends, but don't share it with a big, broad audience, I think.
The problem we had at the Sun in drawing, in the early days, they wanted you to draw cartoons that were controversial. because they wanted letters to the editor. Now, you draw controversial cartoons, you can't run that. We'll get mail, we'll get letters. So, they put my name on it, they can send them to me. They just, I'm a big believer in hearing from the readers, hear what they're going to say. They don't do that anymore.
Well, we'd like to hear what, before we conclude, what you folks have to say. Please, anybody has any questions for this gang? Hello?
I don't have a question. I just want to say every morning my husband and I wake up and we start the morning laughing. So thank you so much. We just, you portray what we think you, but in such a humorous way, but in a real way. So thank you very much.
That's very sweet. I just have to ask you, what would your morning routine, what publications have you read through the years? Right. He's great. He's great. Jaylene, were you waving towards me? How are you? Okay.
No, just because the people behind me can't hear me if I'm facing the stage. All right, thanks. So most of you know that I teach young illustration and cartooning students. People in the audience probably don't know that, so yeah. And I am searching every year for the student who cartoons in a way that could be adapted to editorial cartooning, and they're not there. And when I cover this stuff in class, because I teach history of illustration and we look at this stuff over the years, they're frightened by it. You know, and try to get discussion going about pros, cons to, putting out a controversial cartoon about something that matters. And they're all like, it doesn't help. It's not good. So, my question to you guys, especially since the Pulitzer also kind of hid, pulled, made disappear the Editorial Cartooning Prize, we're seeing the profession disappear. So, you guys are closer to the ground in the business than me. So can you please comment on what is going on to nurture the future of this field?
Excellent question.
Right?
You guys have fun with your mic.
Well, we got to keep up with the times, I think. I'm doing it personally by animating a lot of my cartoons. You don't see a lot of that. I don't know a lot of people know that, but the Spectator is actually starting to post some of my animated stuff, and it's very easy to do because everything is done digitally now. And every time you work on a cartoon, there's a little video that's captured of the process and that's sped up. So it may take you 4 hours to do a cartoon, and then it's whittled down to like a minute or something like that. And I whittle it down even further with further editing and sound effects and music and a little bit of movement. And I'm getting a little traction actually on Instagram. I'm not on TikTok. I refuse to go on that platform, but I'm starting to get some pickup. And I think if that's the way you're going to get the kids' attention, and I have two, and they're not reading the newspapers, they don't know what an editorial cartoonist is, they don't care what I do for a living, but you have to keep up with the times, and if it means making news entertaining in little animated things, that's how it's going to be. Unfortunately, newspapers are a thing of the past, and editorial cartoons, we just have to find ways of keeping them relevant.
Oh, excellent point, Graham.
I have to commend the paper I work for because they let me, they want me, they encourage me. I joke about how I never speak to my editors, which I do because they want me to cause, to ruffle feathers, to be funny, to be irreverent, to be on social media, getting attention. So I think that is one way. I mean, we're going by the way of the dinosaur, right? We know that. So until we go, we may as well try to do our best. So I think the Star is tapping into something which was done 20 years ago, which nobody's doing anymore. They're letting me be as irreverent as possible, and they're not stopping me. So
it does help, though, that your paper has an enormous foothold digitally.
Not anymore, or I mean.
Hey, listen, everybody subscribes to the Star.
I have no idea, to be honest.
Yeah. The numbers are much more significant than any other paper in the country.
Maybe that's why they let me do my stuff, because I don't know.
Yeah, people are looking at you on their phone.
And they must know that, and they let me because then never say.
But my point, they've really put their money into their website in a way that I would say you guys don't have at the Sun. The Sun website doesn't have nearly the level of heft to it, so to speak.
Being 110 years old,
That's right.
when it comes to computers and TikTok and all that, I'm a dinosaur. I mean, I still draw an original in color. It was watercolor. You know, I mean, scanning it and sending it is a big thing. I'm even thinking of getting color TV now.
You should get a color TV. I Dream of Jeannie is
I
color now.
wasn't very sure of your total question because I'm very hard of hearing anyway. So, but did I answer it? Okay.
Okay, well,
Susan?
there's a,
It's on.
is, okay. I think that the other big thing that's going to happen, besides the demise of newspapers, is AI. There was a fella in Cartoonists in the States who actually put the whole thing online, and he put in his drawing style, and he put in the gag that he wanted, and he put in something else, and then he let the AI do it, and he got 5 beautifully drawn cartoons and with different gags and everything, but it looked like his work. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with all of that, because there are a lot of jobs that are going to be lost because of AI too. So I think what we've got, what political cartoonists and a lot of cartoonists have is, I don't think that the bot can come up with the gags yet, but I'm not sure about the drawing. I think that's going to be trouble.
Yeah, well, it's quarrelsome. That whole issue is dramatic for so many industries. But Jaylene's point is absolutely correct. We have our regular get-togethers and our conventions and whatever, and we're always looking for the young college-age artists who show some level of interest, and most young people are savvy. They're not looking at the industry as a winner, with the exception of the true fanatics who have, and generally a lot of it has to do with they're either really socially hip or really into being like policy wonks for politics. And those two things, I know someone like Graham was like me, we grew up, we found politics fascinating, watching Watergate when we were little kids and stuff like that. But a lot of people are not going to go down that route because they know there's no dough behind it. But there's still lots of young people out there drawing, and they pop up from time to time. And please, stay active, all of you out there that love looking at political cartoons. Don't just come to your regular sources. Go to Substack, go to a wide variety of search engines and say, who is drawing right now. There's tons of great young people, not just from Canada and the United States, but around the world, who flood Instagram with their drawings. And always be, just like when I chat with my good friend Gareth about music, it's not like there's a complete shortage of talent out there. It's just folks are buried. You may not be seeing them right in front of your face. But please seek them out and show them encouragement. And you can show these folks encouragement by buying their papers or subscribing to the papers that still exist. And if nothing else, follow them online and tell them that you appreciate what they do, because they're all used to getting yelled at, but I don't think anybody up here is unhappy to get some compliments from time to time. And you've all made an enormous compliment to our friends here just by showing up this afternoon. And we've reached that hour where we have to thank you for coming out. If anybody has any questions after we wrap up, come up and talk to all of us before we head out. And
Wes, I want to just add one thing.
Yes, sir.
What you were saying, it's really tough being a cartoonist. I wouldn't encourage anybody to get into it.
Oh.
Animation, yeah. But when you look at the internet and you get a beautiful, you get Donald Trump dancing with Putin as two fat people and they're photographic, and they're dancing. Or you get Donald Trump as a little kid screaming on the beach, acting like a kid. How do you compete with that? I mean, everybody's a cartoonist out there now.
You mean when you're seeing like memes of like digitally created stuff is what you're talking
photographic.
about?
They're Photoshop.
Yeah. There's no denying, but it's our industry is definitely more of a niche market scenario now. Whereas at one time, it was right at the tip of the spear for satire, and it is not at this time. It's very much I'd like to call you all boutique hotels of the art world. That's what you all are, and we're lucky to know these talented individuals. And ladies and gentlemen, they're gonna close us down. So we got to thank you very much for coming out this afternoon. It's been delightful to have the words of And thanks to the Hammer, because the Hammer supports cartooning. And please get out and look at some of the great people who were situated here before this thing wraps up today. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you very much.